This is the video for Geometry Lesson 96. It's due Tuesday, May 5th, so Tuesday 5/5. There's no notes. So I'm going to make the assignment. We're going to work through the practice together, and then I'm going to show you some things on the lesson that I'm going to assign. So I'm going to just make the assignment as we go. So you're going to do the warm-up on page 624, but you're only going to do 1 and 3. So don't do number 2 on the warm-up. Now we're going to go through the practice right quick. So practice A. This is just on lesson 96. This is just about what happens when you change the dimensions, how it changes the area or perimeter or something like that. So on A, we've got a pair of opposite sides of a square are dilated by a factor of 4 while the other sides remain the same. What is the ratio of the new figure's perimeter to the original? So a pair of opposite sides of a square are dilated by a factor of 4. So you've got this square, and then, so this is a square, so it's x all the way around. But then we take the square and we dilate opposite sides by a factor of 4. So this is 4x and this is 4x. And this is still x. These two are still x. So we want the ratio of the new figure's perimeter to that of the original figure. So we just need to find this perimeter. This perimeter is 4x. And then find this perimeter. This perimeter is 8x and then 2x, so 10x. And then we want new figure to original. So 10x over 4x, which is 5 over 2. Okay, write them as fractions. Do not write them with a colon, write them as fractions. So that's what's happening on this lesson, on lesson 96. So then on B, you've got two trapezoids. This trapezoid is x and 3x, and then the height is 1/2 x. And then you've got this other trapezoid that is thin and tall. This is 1/2 x. This is 3 over 2x, and this is 2x. And what we're asked to do on B is what is the ratio of the first trapezoid's area to the second trapezoid's area. So we just have to find the area. Area of a trapezoid is B1 plus B2 times the height divided by 2. So B1 plus B2 would be 3x plus x times the height, which is 1/2 x, all divided by 2. So this would be 4x times 1/2 x. That would be 2x squared over 2, because 4 times 1/2 is 2. Okay, 4 times 1/2 is 2. X times x is x squared. So this would wind up being x squared. So the area of the first one is x squared. Now we do the area of the second one. 2x plus 1/2 x times 3 over 2x, all divided by 2. So add the bases, multiply by the height, divide by 2. So 2x and 1/2 x, that's 2 and 1/2 x, which would be 5 over 2x, because I've got to multiply it by 3 over 2x. So 5 over 2x times 3 over 2x would be 15 over 4x squared, because we do multiply the 2 times the 2, okay? All over 2. Now I can't leave it like this, so if I'm dividing by 2, it's like multiplying by 1/2. So that would give me 15 over 8x squared. 15 over 8x squared, because the 2 times the 4 is 8, and I flipped the 1/2. So now we are asked for, and we've got to make sure we get this right. That's why I'm looking at it again. We want the first to the second. We want the first area x squared over the second area 15 over 8x squared. So we want this ratio. Well, first things, the x squareds cancel. So it's left with 1 divided by 15 over 8, which means I would do 1 times 8 over 15, because I flipped the bottom fraction. That's something you should know. So this would be 8 over 15. That's the ratio. Then on C, the radius of the circle is x. So here's my circle. The radius is x. The radius is changed by a factor of 1/2. So now this is 1/2 x for the new circle. What is the ratio between the original circumference and the new circumference and the original area and the new area? Okay, so area of a circle pi r squared. So this would be pi x squared. Area of a circle again, pi times 1/2 x all squared. That'd be pi times 1/4 x squared. So this would be 1/4 x squared pi. We want the ratio, again, I've got to read it and make sure we get it in the right order. What is the ratio between the original area and the new area? So I'm taking my original area, pi x squared, over 1/4 x squared pi, and I'm simplifying this, which means pi's x squareds cancel. I'm left with 1 over 1/4, which means that's 4. Because 1 over 1/4, you flip the bottom one to be 4 over 1. So you can say the ratio is 4:1. Okay? That's the area. Now we have to do the circumference. So the circumference is 2 pi r. That's the circumference. So 2 pi x and then 2 pi 1/2 x. So this was just 2 pi x. This would be 2 and 1/2, cancels to a 1, so this would just be pi x. So we're dividing by pi x. So the ratio here, 2:1. So here's the ratio of the areas, here's the ratio of the circumference, and I want you to do it just like I did it. Find the circumference, find the areas, and then compare them. Then on D, a block of apartments must be constructed in the shape of a square. In the middle of the constructed in the shape of a square. Let's see, the apartment lot must be shortened to make way for the road. Due to this fact, the length of the lot is 9/10. So this is x, this is x. Now our new one is 9/10 x. And we want the ratio of the apartment's new area to its original area. New area to its original area. So its original area is x squared because the area of a square is side squared. So the original is x squared. Then this is 81 over 100 x squared. And we actually want new to old. We've been wanting old to new, but now we want new to old. So new is 81 over 100 x squared divided by x squared. So these cancel, and it's 81 to 100. Okay, so there's the practice done. That's what's going on with that. Let me change markers because this blue marker is dying. Okay, so now that's the warm-up, that's the practice. Again, you don't have any notes on this. So now let me talk about the lesson. You're going to do 1 through 5. 1 is law of signs. You're going to use law of signs on number 1. Number 2, I want to draw for you right quick, which some of you are not drawing the circles like I'm drawing them. You're not drawing them at all. So I'm going to mark those wrong if you don't. We've got JK and LM. They intersect at N. And then we're given certain things. Let's see. It says sketch the circle. Show the given information. It says that JN and NK are congruent and that LN is 3 and MN is 12. So you should know how to go from there. There's the drawing. You want to find X. So you'd have to do X times X equals 3 times 12 and then solve it from there. Okay? Then that's that. Oh, and then on number 3. Number 3, you've got a line that passes through 5, -3 and 2, -6. And then you've got another line that's passing through 4y and -2, 3. We want to know the value of y that makes them perpendicular. So we want these to be perpendicular, which means we want them to have an opposite reciprocal slope. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to find the slope. -2 minus -3. I wrote it right, said it wrong. -6 minus -3, and then 2 minus 5. So this would be -3 over -3, which is 1. So if my slope is 1, my perpendicular slope is -1. So now you've got to take this and set it into slope formula. So what I mean is this, 3 minus y over -2 minus 4 equals -1. And solve from there. You should be able to solve from there. -2 minus 4 is -6. Multiply by a -6, then you have 3 minus y equals -6. actually, you'd have 3 minus y equals positive 6, because negative 6 times negative 1 would be a positive 6. Then subtract 3, divide by negative 1. That should finish that out on number 3. But I did want to show that to you because, one, I want you to realize that 1 and negative 1 are perpendicular slopes, and then just to see how a problem like this works. Then on number 4, that's last lessons. That's from 95. Number 5, if you've got the perimeter of a square, so here's my square, the perimeter is 16. That means each side is 4, because remember, perimeter of the square is 4s. So each side is 4. The area is doubled. What's the new side length? Okay, so if my perimeter is 16, my area is actually 16 because my area is side squared. So my area is 16 of this. Now I want to double it. So now my area is 32. So now you want to find the side length. So you need to find the square root of the area. So you need to simplify that, and I want you to leave it in simplified radical form and make sure you label it with centimeters. Okay, so again, the perimeter was 16, which means the side of the square was 4. This area is doubled, so we need to find this area here. Well, when the side length of the square is 4, its perimeter and area equal. They're both 16. So if I double 16, my new area is 32. Now to find a side length, I take the square root of the area. So you take the square root of the area and you leave it in radical form, simplified radical form. So you need to make sure you simplify it as well. And make sure you put centimeters. Okay, that's number 5. Then you skip to number 7. Okay, so it's 1 through 5, then 7, let me do this, 7, 8. I'm going to talk about 9, 11, 12, 13, 15, 16, 20, 23, 24, 25, 27, 28, and 30. Okay? So 1 through 5, 7, 8, 9, 11, 12, 13, 15, 16. That's a 20, guys. That's a 20. 23, 24, 25, 27, 28, and 30. I've talked about 1 through 5. Number 7. On number 7, remember that your volume of a cylinder is pi r squared times the height. They give you the volume as 452 pi. You're looking for the radius. Now the height is this. So you've got this can, and it says after a few days, it has a band of cream and then a band of low-fat milk. Well, add those together to get your height, because you need your height. So add those together to get your height, plug that in right here, and then solve for r. Divide by whatever your height is. When you add those together, divide by pi, and then you need to take the square root, okay? But that's the way 7 works. Then number 8... Okay, number 8 is just finding area of that. It should just be area. You're finding area of a squares and then area of a circle. It's semicircle, but it's actually one circle because it's 2 semicircles with the same radius. Number 9 I wanted to talk about because each of these changes from x, y, and it flips and changes the sign of the x. So if you look at them, it flips and changes the sign of the x. So that is a 270-degree rotation. So I just wanted to talk about 9 and remind you what that 270-degree rotation is on that. Then on number 11, okay, 11 is the stuff we just talked about today. So let me show you what 11 looks like. Let's see, the circumference of a circle is pi x. The radius is increased by a factor of 2. So if my circumference, remember, is 2 pi r. So that's my circumference. The radius is increased by a factor of 2. Okay, so first I need to find what my radius is if my circumference is pi x. So I divide by pi. I actually divide by 2 because I'm trying to get r by itself. So that would be x over 2 because my pi's cancel. So there's the radius. Now that's increased by a factor of 2. Well, if it's increased by a factor of 2, that just leaves a radius of x. Then we want to find the area of the circle. Well, area of a circle is pi r squared. So pi times x squared. So pi x squared. So that's this stuff. When you're changing the dimensions, what happens when you change the dimensions? So that's the way 11 works. Number 12, just set up a proportion. Number 13 is the new circle stuff. Number 15, remember on 15 to find the area, it is apothem times perimeter divided by 2. They actually give you the side length of this pentagon and they give you the apothem. So you just need to plug it in and then pick which one it is. Then you skipped to on 16. Okay, I want to draw the picture for 16. Number 16. Okay, so we've got a street light. It's mounted at the top of a 15-foot pole. A 6-foot tall man is walking away. So here's the man, and he's walking away. And then there are shadows cast. If it is dark and the street light provides the only light, how long is the man's shadow? Here's the man's shadow when he's 40 feet from the pole. So that's the way this sets up, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to set up a proportion between the smallest triangle and the largest triangle, okay? So the small triangle would be 6 over x, this vertical side over horizontal side. Then we want vertical side of the big one over horizontal side, which is x plus 40. So now you cross multiply and find x. Y'all know how to cross multiply. Y'all know how to find proportions. So make sure you draw the triangle, write your proportions, and then finish the problem. Make sure you finish the problem. Then on number 20, you're changing from yards. You're changing from yards to feet. There's 3 feet in a yard, and it's square yards to square feet, so you need to square the 3 when you multiply. Number 20, 23 is classifying the solid. The base is a hexagon, and it's a prism, so that's how you classify the solid. Identify the vertices. The vertices are the points, the edges are the lines, and the bases are the 2 hexagons. So I've just told you how many bases there are. So count how many vertices, how many edges, how many bases. 24 is just finding the surface area of the sphere, so just use your formula. 25, it shows that arc EF is 12 feet. And it shows you that the angle is 60 degrees, and this is 12 feet, and you want to find the circumference. We've had a couple of these, and some of y'all have caught on to it, and some of y'all are doing something crazy on these things, which you don't need to. 60 degrees. If I take 360 and divide by 60, I get 6. That means that piece is a sixth of the circle. So if this piece is a sixth of the circle, if I need the whole perimeter, just multiply by 6. That's all you have to do. You don't have to do craziness like the solutions manual does. You don't have to do that. 60 is a sixth of the circle, so that means that piece of the circumference is a sixth of the circle, so you need the whole circle. Then 27 is the new circle stuff. 28, remember that the sum of the exterior angles is 360, and you know that each is 10 degrees, and you want to know how many sides. So that should get you from there. And then on 30, it says that if the replica has the dimensions that are 10 times smaller than the clock, then you want the ratio between the replica circumference and the actual circumference. And so that's just, you take the scale factor. So if it's 10 times larger, your scale factor is 1 to 10. So that's what you do on 30. So again, that's lesson 96. It's due May 5th on Tuesday, and there are no notes. So the only thing you're sending me is the lesson. And I've gone through a lot of the lesson, talked you through some stuff. Make sure you draw the pictures like I've done, set them up, and make sure you finish the problems. If I started them, make sure you finish them.